They have to do it. They have no choice. Taking down Tucker Carlson, they must if they're going to win in 2024. This guy, Tucker, gets 100 million hits, then 80 million hits on his second episode. He's maintaining viewership on his show tremendously. I do believe once he gets the show fully up and running on Twitter with consistent daily episodes, he'll probably sit around, let's say 8 million. I think it's up. I was saying 7 million before. The fact that his second video got 80 million, I think he's going to keep getting big numbers. And they can't allow that. The question is, why is James O'Keefe being jammed up? Why is Tucker Carlson being jammed up? Why is the Daily Wire being jammed up? They're jamming them up because these are prominent figures who are pushing anti-democratic party narratives. Can't allow it. James O'Keefe, it's funny, they call him conservative, and I'm like, I actually don't even know if that's true. Like, he targets big corporations. And they say he's far right. And I'm like, Google? I don't know. He's going after corporations. Fairly lefty as far as I'm concerned, but none of it really makes sense or matters anymore. James O'Keefe gets suspended from Veritas. They then say, you can't work. He starts his own company. They sue him. Tucker Carlson gets his show taken off the air. He starts his own. He makes some posts on Twitter, and they send him a cease and desist letter. Here's the story from Axios. Fox News has sent a cease and desist letter to Tucker Carlson as he ramps up a competing series on Twitter that drew a combined 169 million views. Oh, what have you done, Fox, for its first 2 episodes? Axios has learned. The contract battle between Fox and its former top host, who was taken off the air in April after the network's historic Dominion settlement, has mighty repercussions for the conservative media ecosystem. With Tucker on Twitter, Carlson and his growing production team are working to elevate Elon Musk's social media site as a news platform. The cease and desist letter has not for publication in bold at the top. Oh boy, here we go. Fox is continuing to pay Carlson and maintains that his contract keeps his content exclusive to Fox through December 31st, 2024. Carlson is making a First Amendment argument for posting on Twitter and asserts that Fox has committed material breaches of his contract. Carlson's first 2 Twitter episodes were straight-to-camera monologues. He plans to keep iterating with longer, more varied episodes and the addition of guests, Axios is told. We hear some big names have been lined up. Justin Wells, Carlson's executive producer, tweeted yesterday, next episode of Tucker on Twitter coming Tuesday, Tucker's response to the indictment of President Donald Trump. Harmeet Dillon, a lawyer who represents Carlson along with Brian Friedman, said in a statement to Axios, Fox News continues to ignore the interests of its viewers, not to mention its shareholder obligations. Doubling down on the most catastrophic programming decision in the history of cable news industry, Fox is now demanding that Tucker Carlson be silent until after the 2024 election. Tucker will not be silenced by anyone. He is a singularly important voice on matters of public interest in our country and will remain so. Fox didn't comment. They say he's out. That's the narrative. But I think the real issue is they cannot allow a prominent voice such as Tucker Carlson to speak out right now. I don't know if it's a coincidence. I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe it's a standalone complex, which you've heard me mention before. A bunch of people doing similar things that makes it look like a conspiracy, but it's not. That is, people at Veritas, at Project Veritas, who know James O'Keefe is a very big threat to the machine. How did they succeed in 2020? Ballot harvesting. It has now become the principal cause espoused by many high-profile politicians and political activists, that if we don't get to ballot harvesting, we don't win. And that's what they were doing. James O'Keefe helped to expose a lot of the chasing and harvesting that was going on. Surprise, surprise. They're shutting him down, or at least trying to. I doubt they'll be successful. Tucker Carlson. Oh, come on. This is the guy who went on his show and said the CIA took out JFK. Then, of course, Ron Paul came on my show and said much the same thing. It's now basically colloquially, that's not the right word. It's now materially accepted by many people in this country and has been for a long time. But what was deemed a crazy conspiracy theory is now, for the most part, to a lot of people, just a fact. And that's where we're heading. They're losing control of the narrative. And so they must shut down anyone who challenges the narrative. Think about how easy it was back in the day to have a singular narrative. With only a few television channels and a few radio stations, you controlled what people thought. And it was all lies. Norm Macdonald has a fantastic joke where he says, I was looking through history and the good guys won every war. What are the odds? It's brilliant. I mean, we know that history is written by the victors, but that was a really great way to put it, Norm. Rest in peace. Brilliant guy. The good guys win every battle. What that really says is those who can control the narrative will just say they're the good guys. That'll always be the case. Villainize anybody else. And now you have a challenge here. The narrative is broken. It's not working anymore. You've got gamers rising up. People refusing to buy Bud Light because of memes. People refusing to shop at Target. And the media doing everything in its power to try and lie, cheat, and steal and claim none of it's true. My favorite is when CNN said that the stock drop-off for Target has nothing to do with the boycott, and it's market factors, it's the economy. No big deal. Interesting. When you compare the stock of Target to Walmart, something seems off. Target being down double digits and Walmart being down only like a point or two. Why would Walmart be improving, and it started improving, and Target be declining? Could it be that people are stopping their patronage to Target and they are going to Walmart? That's what many honest news reports are actually saying. Now, this narrative wouldn't exist if we were back in the day of broadcast television. The feds could go to any paper or media publication and say, this story's not allowed. You can't do it. And they would say, okay. And it's kind of sad, really. It is. The deep state, the intelligence agencies, law enforcement, they'd go to a reporter and say, look, we don't want to tell you not to run the story. Just know that if you do, people will die and it will be your fault. And they'll go, oh, geez, what do I do? There's real questions there, man. I do think, I was going to tweet a joke out. Mark Zuckerberg was talking about, the censorship requests and all that stuff. And I'm like, Zuckerberg must have it very hard. And half kidding. But in reality, I do think that he, Dorsey, and many of these people actually do have challenges. That doesn't mean I think they should give in to intelligence agencies and the government when it comes to censoring information. It just means that it's not easy to deal with this stuff. Now, of course, if you're just ideologically aligned with the establishment, you'll march in lockstep, no question. But if you're just like a regular person and someone comes to you and says, look, you've got 300 million posts per day that are telling people to, let's say, I don't know, drink a poisonous substance of some sort. People are going to die because they're going to see this. There was a kid who heard about the Tide Pod challenge and he put a Tide Pod in his mouth as a gag. Well, the material that bonds the Tide Pod easily breaks down in moisture. And so it popped and ruptured in his mouth. And then he aspirated and it went into his lungs and it caused serious chemical burns and damage in his lungs. He couldn't get it out. Crazy. What do? Flush your lungs? Man. The reason he did it was because he saw it on the internet. There's a little girl. She did the pass out challenge or whatever, where she grabbed, I'm not going to explain how to do it, but she cuts off the blood flow to her head and then she died. So you go to someone like Zuckerberg and you say, look at this, man. This stuff is spreading. There are people who are dumb. And Zuckerberg says, you got it. And he censors it. And it turns out Zuckerberg was wrong. The reason why I say it's hard is because if you are someone who doesn't pay attention to this stuff and you have no idea what's going on, you think you're doing the right thing when you're doing the wrong thing. And sometimes we all make the wrong decision. It's not easy. And that's what the deep state longs for. A world where they can just say, we will tell you what to think, how to think, and when to think, and you won't have to worry your pretty little face about it. But I think the reality is life is not safe. And some people win Darwin Awards. You can't play that game. You have to just say people are allowed to share and say what they want to say so long as it's legal. Legally. Otherwise, no. No illegal stuff that we agree upon, right? Within certain reason. The government can't just make the sharing of opinion illegal. They'd love to if they could. But we're talking about threats of violence, direct calls to action and things like that violate the law. That I understand. For the time being, what we must contend with is, over the next year or two, the next year and a half, They will do everything in their power to silence anyone who opposes them because they're evil, not because they're good. But they'll go to stupid people and they'll trick them into doing their bidding. So we have to do the work. We have to read, we have to research to the best of our abilities, fact check things. And it's not easy. But that's why they're trying to silence people like Tucker, James O'Keefe, the Daily Wire, because they know they'll lose unless they do. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up in a few minutes. Stick around and I'll see you all shortly.